Hello and welcome to volunteer orientation for the Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter. My name is Erin Duran and I am the volunteer and foster coordinator. Most of you have probably received a few emails from me now about the onboarding process, and here's that email address again, and I also do have a work phone number that you can reach me at as well. There are two volunteer interns. They work through FANS, and they are Marnie and Katie. They're going to do your one-on-one trainings and tours. They're going to help out with some orientations and some onboarding processes as well. So if you hear their name mentioned, then that is why. You'll notice that we have our public hours and our volunteer hours. We are open 7 days a week. We really only close about 3 days out of the whole year. Our volunteers are allowed to come in earlier than the public. At our one-on-one training and tour, we will show you how to access the building, where to park, and which doors you can enter. Most of the external doors will be locked since the public will not have access to the building. We have a new adoption center. That center has a different driveway that you can park at. Most of these doors in this building, they will be locked just because we're really only doing adoptions in this building. Our other building, our shelter services center, that's where all of our microchipping, spay and neuter drop off, foster pickup, our health techs are over there. There's just a lot more staff over there, and you still access that building the same way. We also have a staff and volunteer parking lot that will show you how to access. The best way in the morning is to come back there, and then you can have access, and we'll show you how to walk and access everything. We see about 7,000 animals each year, mainly dogs and cats. We service Williamson County, but we do not service the city of Georgetown and the city of Taylor, which can get a little confusing because our shelter technically resides in Georgetown, but we do not service Georgetown. We service Leander, Cedar Park, Round Rock, Hutto, and just kind of the rural and non-city parts of Georgetown. We have visions and objectives, and our vision is to save every medically and behaviorally sound companion animal. And how we go about this is we try and increase our pet adoptions and our less pet reclaims. We emphasize humane care for animals. We help animal control with their public safety efforts. And by having this regional facility, we can reduce costs to each city. And we could really only achieve these visions and objectives with community support, whether that's through ownership, adoptions, volunteers, fosters. We just cannot, our shelter is not built to sustain these visions and objectives by ourselves. We have been no-kill since December 2010, and what no-kill means is that at least 90% of the animals that come to our shelter, they have a live release. So it means they're getting adopted, they're being transferred to a rescue partner, or they're being reunited with their owners. And we actually are about 95 to 98%. And if we do euthanize, it's a severe medical case, severe behavior case where the animal is not safely able to be put out into the public. Or a lot of neonatal kittens come in without their mothers, and that just nationwide is very hard to save. And unfortunately, a lot of those do have to be euthanized. And so we are an open intake shelter as well, which means that no animal is turned away, regardless of their condition or the shelter's capacity. So in spite of being an open intake shelter, we also are still able to have that no-kill status and maintain it. And how to become a volunteer? So most of you guys have probably already gone through these steps. Some of them may be a little refresher, and some may be what's to follow. Volunteers ages 12 to 15, they must have a parent or guardian who also accompanies them while they volunteer and also completes the steps to be a volunteer. So the first step is to create an online account with Digital Cheetah. You'll also log your hours on Digital Cheetah. You'll also sign up for shifts on Digital Cheetah as well. Volunteer application will be the next prompted step, and that just tells us a little bit more about you and how you want to help the shelter. 16 years and up, you need to have a background check on file. You can find those forms in the prompted emails that get sent and also on our website. there is a suggested donation fee of $5, and that money just goes directly into funding the program, helps fund for the interns as well. And an orientation. So this video is one of the ways for people to attend orientation. And then once you finish viewing this video in Digital Cheetah, I will have to go in there and manually approve your account. And so once your account's been approved, then you can sign up for a one-on-one training and tour with one of the interns. And so just kind of be patient. It may take a day or two between when you actually finish watching the orientation to when your account gets approved and when you can sign up for the training and tour. But if anything longer than that, feel free to reach out to me and I'll see where the hiccup is. Our policies is we're going to want to have your information up to date. It's really it's a lot easier for me to get in contact with you, whether it be email or if you want to join our Facebook group. We're pretty active on Facebook and it's just a good place for information. There's also a message board in the volunteer area. I do my best to try and keep that up to date for the people that are not on social media. There is no drugs or alcohol allowed on county property. This includes tobacco use. We do reserve the right to terminate volunteers. We do not want to turn away volunteers, as you heard me mention before, that we cannot achieve what we want to without our volunteers and without community support. But if there is a volunteer that's not following our policies, following even our sanitation and cleaning protocols, then we do reserve the right to terminate those volunteers. And so, and just also abiding by those sanitation and cleaning protocols, we want to keep you safe, we want to keep the animals safe, and we want to keep your animals safe at home as well. And there's so many different ways that volunteers can help out our shelter. There's anything from directly working with the animals, office work, data entry. There's some tasks from home, answering phones, greeting customers as they come to the shelter. And there's also transportation. We now have 9 offsite cat adoption locations. And so just getting cats out there to those locations, that's a big task that us as shelter staff, we can't accomplish. And so we do rely on volunteers to do that. And pretty much even if there's something not on this list, if you feel like you have something to contribute to the shelter that maybe not be on here, feel free to reach out to me and we'll see if we can make that happen. Different supplies for different tasks. Kind of the most concerning supply list would be for walking dogs or handling cats. You'll want to have closed-toed shoes. I do not recommend anybody wearing open-toed shoes or sandals while they are at the shelter. You'll want to wear long pants or long shorts, a t-shirt. Sweatshirts are useful for walking outside or even just for handling cats. Sometimes their little kitten claws can scratch you, and this is a good way to prevent against that. We also recommend Medota leashes. They're $15 on Amazon, and they're a collar and leash in one. You can put the leash on them, and this brown part right here, you can move that back and forth, and so that way you can fit it firmly behind the dog's neck, so that way the collar does not slip out. If you're going to handle the dogs, we recommend having a little treat bag and having some treats for them. As you'll notice, Diego is sitting nicely for some treats. And even if you're not working directly with the animals, it's always good to know what a friendly human body posture is versus a threatening human body posture, because animals can sense that even if you're kind of just walking down the hall and not handling them directly. And a lot of people don't realize it, but even directly staring at the animal, that can be threatening to them. Your arm raised with or without weapon. And when I say weapon, think of a dog bowl, a leash, a pen. They're not going to know what's over your head, and they can become afraid of that. Rapid movement towards the animal. So if an animal does get loose, sometimes our first instinct is to run after them, and that may not always be the best bet. Shouting at them, even growling commands, all that's very threatening to them. You'll want to speak to the animal in a high-pitched, soft, reassuring tones. That goes a lot farther with them. We have dog color levels, and pretty much every dog that comes in gets a little sticker on their kennel card with how easy we think they're going to be on the walk. These colors are not a judgment. They're not for adoption use. They're just for what we're going to teach you. So after today, everybody will be able to walk green dogs. After you walk 10 hours of walking green dogs, we'll move you up to blue, but you'll also have to attain a blue class. It will talk about training, the methods that we use, and how to keep yourself and the dog safe. We're also going to ask that if you are walking dogs to keep 6 feet away from other dogs. Every dog has their own little personal bubble, and we want to keep them safe. We may not know if they like other dogs. Some dogs may just not be introduced well on a leash, and that just keeps everybody safe. And as we go up, there will be more training and more classes involved to work with different level of dogs. And how to pet a dog is that you're always going to want to ask the handler if you can pet the dog. If you also reserve the right to, if you're walking and someone is approaching and you know you have a scared, shy dog that may not like to be petted, you can say no. And if they're still persistent, you can also turn around and walk away. But if the dog seems like it wants to be petted, the handler's okay with being petted, the next step would be to offer the back of the hand. Let the dog sniff you, let them assess the situation, and if you still get the green light from them still, then you'll want to start petting them under the chin. This is very non-threatening to them. This kind of warms them up to the feeling of being petted and touched, and then if that's okay, then you can also move on to petting them on their body. We try to enforce a kennel routine, just something to teach the dog so all the dogs are learning the same thing. And what 4 on the floor means is what this dog is showing us here. His 4 feet are on the floor. They can be standing, sitting, or laying down. You'll want to see them in this position and then enter the kennel. And then after you enter the kennel, you want them to have the 4 feet on the floor again. You do not want them jumping on you, jumping on the walls. You want to wait until they settle down and then put the leash on them and then make sure they still have 4 on the floor and then walk out. You'll close the door behind you and exit with the closest door. And this just teaches all the dogs the same thing. It has them show well for potential adopters and just will make getting them out of the kennel for other volunteers and for you later on easier. And for cat color levels, they are completely different than dog levels. After today, you will also be a green dot. And then how you move up is you'll do 10 hours of working with green cats, and then just staff or a volunteer does need to approve you to be yellow. Yellow just means they're a little bit more fearful, a little cowering and hiding, and they also appear stressed. And then after to go from yellow to red, then we'll have you do a little bit more training. And how to get a cat out of a kennel, we always want to assess the situation of how the cat is reacting. You can open the kennel door, offer your hand, try and let the cat pet you, let the cat come up to you, let the cat smell you and get familiar. And if everything seems okay, the cat seems friendly, like they want to come out, then you can help them out supporting their hindquarters. You do not want to force a cat to come out of the kennel. If they do not want to come out of the kennel, I would just close the door and then move on to the next cat. Or you can also even sit by them, read to them, and talk to them as long as it's not causing them more stress. I do want you to sanitize between each cat, or at least wash your hands. We don't want to spread germs, spread diseases. So 1 cat or 1 litter at a time, and then kind of wash your hands afterwards. We do have cat colony rooms. Color levels still apply in the colony rooms. You'll have to kind of go through their little, all their paperwork's up here and make sure that you are the same level as the highest cat in this room. So if there is a yellow dot on one of these cats in here, and if you are only green, then you cannot go in there with them. And the public is also not allowed to go in there without staff or volunteers. So feel free if you see someone kind of going in there, let them know that it is a staff-only area and that someone will be coming shortly to let them in. and only staff can move cats in and out of the colony room. We do an all in, all out method. So once all these cats have been adopted, we're going to deep sanitize the room, and then we're going to bring a new group of cats inside. Our customer service is really our number one way of how we get animals out of our shelter is through adoption. So we want everybody to leave the shelter with nice smiley faces. And so really customer service is how we achieve our life-saving shelter. So we want you to be polite, be helpful, ask questions and listen to their answers. And also if you don't want to engage with adopters or customers, you do not have to. You can always just say, I am a volunteer. Let me find a staff member that can help you. Our adoption fees do vary, and never promise an animal to an adopter. Between when an animal first comes in as a stray, between being placed out for adoption, there's a lot of wiggle room and a lot of things that can happen. And so just don't ever promise an animal to an adopter. And we also do offer customer service training about every quarter just to kind of brush up on your skills and also learn our policies and see if anything has changed. We do have managers that work at our shelter. We have Alexa, she is the kennel manager. She's responsible for day-to-day tasks. Linda is responsible for administrative. We have Misty, who does marketing, media, and community outreach. And Cheryl is our animal services director. So also if I am not available, you can also ask one of them a question as well. And we're going to ask that you be kind, respect our boundaries, directions, and emergencies. Oftentimes we are short-staffed. Oftentimes there's a lot going on. And so just kind of be mindful of what's going on. But always feel free to ask questions. And if you have any concerns, please bring those up as well. And so now what? We're going to ask you to keep your pets up to date on vaccines. Work clothes that you don't mind getting dirty, even if you are just coming in to do office work. An animal may get loose, or there just may be an office dog in that area for that day. Wash your clothes and shoes when you get home. Sanitize after each animal. Join us on Facebook. We're very active on our volunteer Facebook page. You're going to want to schedule your one-on-one training with a FANS intern. And also remember, after you complete this video, I will have to go in and manually approve your account. So just be patient between watching this video and being able to sign up. And then we're going to want you to start volunteering. So after you do that one-on-one training and tour, you are free to come to the shelter whenever you can. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask them at the one-on-one training, or you can also email me as well. So thank you so much.